The security installer's voice cracked when he called me at 3 a.m. "Mr. Grayson, I'm deleting this footage forever. As a father to another father, get your kids and leave that house right now." I'd been awake anyway, staring at the ceiling while Monica slept beside me, her phone buzzing with late-night texts she thought I couldn't hear. "What did you see?" I whispered into the phone. "Sir, what happened in your kitchen at 2:47 a.m. made me physically sick. Your wife and some young guy. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry." My hands shook as I accessed the live feed on my tablet. There they were. Monica, my wife of 16 years, bent over our kitchen island. The guy behind her looked barely old enough to drink. Then he turned his face toward the camera and my world exploded. Tyler, my own brother. My 21-year-old half-brother from Dad's second marriage. I grabbed Zoe and Max from their beds, threw clothes in a bag, and we were gone before sunrise. Monica never even stirred. My name is Adam Grayson, and 3 weeks ago I had what everyone called the perfect life. At 41, I was head of operations at Meridian Logistics, pulling down 6 figures managing supply chains for half the Midwest. Monica stayed home with our kids, volunteering at their schools, hosting wine nights with her circle of suburban queens. We lived in a 4,000-square-foot colonial in Westerville, Ohio, complete with the white picket fence and golden retriever. If you set the thermostat and the marriage to auto, both will freeze you out eventually. The cracks started showing 6 months ago. Monica's phone became surgically attached to her hand. She'd giggle at texts during dinner, then claim it was just Kendra being ridiculous. Her wine nights stretched later. She'd come home at 2 a.m., reeking of alcohol and some cologne I didn't recognize, claiming they'd lost track of time at Sherry's place. I should have known something was wrong when she started working out. Monica hadn't seen the inside of a gym since Clinton was president, but suddenly she was doing yoga at 6 a.m. and buying workout clothes that cost more than my suits. "You look great, honey," I'd tell her, and she'd smile that distant smile that never reached her eyes anymore. "Thanks, I'm doing it for me, not you." That should have been my first real warning. Tyler started showing up more often, too. My half-brother had dropped out of Ohio State after 1 semester, much to our father's disappointment. Dad had remarried when I was 20, and Tyler was the golden child who could do no wrong. When he flunked out, Dad blamed everyone except his precious baby boy. "Adam, can Tyler stay in the guest room for a few weeks?" Monica asked one evening in March. "He's looking for a job, and you know how your dad gets." I knew how Dad got. Tyler was his do-over kid, the one who was supposed to fix all the mistakes he'd made raising me. The fact that Tyler was a charming sociopath who'd never held a job for more than 3 months was irrelevant. "Sure," I said, "because that's what good older brothers do. But he needs to contribute. House rules." Tyler moved in with a duffel bag and that cocky grin that had been getting him out of trouble since he could walk. He was everything I wasn't at his age. Tall, athletic, with the kind of effortless charisma that made people want to be around him. Women, especially. "Thanks, bro," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "I owe you one." He owed me a lot more than one, as it turned out. The first week went fine. Tyler helped around the house, played video games with Max, even charmed 15-year-old Zoe out of her perpetual teenage sulk. Monica seemed happier than she'd been in months. "He's really matured," she told me one night, as we watched Tyler help Max with his math homework. "Your dad was wrong about him." I wanted to believe it. Tyler was family, and despite everything, I loved the kid. But I'd seen this movie before. Tyler would be the perfect houseguest until something better came along. Then he'd disappear without a word, leaving chaos in his wake. I just never imagined the chaos would involve my wife. The second week, I started noticing things. Monica would get up early to make Tyler coffee before his job interviews. She'd do his laundry without being asked. When I mentioned it, she'd shrug and say she was just being nice. "He's trying, Adam. The least we can do is support him." Support turned into enablement pretty quickly. Tyler's job search became increasingly theoretical. He'd leave the house at 10 a.m. and return by 2 p.m., claiming he'd made some contacts or had a promising meeting. Meanwhile, he was driving Monica's BMW and using our credit cards for gas and food. "How long is this going to last?" I asked Monica after Tyler had been with us for 3 weeks. "He just needs time to get on his feet. You remember what it was like being young and lost?" I remembered being young and working 2 jobs to pay for college while Dad sent Tyler to private school, but I kept that to myself. The breaking point should have been when I caught Tyler going through my office. I'd come home early from work and found him at my desk, rifling through financial documents. "Just looking for a pen," he said with that trademark grin. Hope you don't mind. I minded. I minded a lot. But when I told Monica, she defended him. He was probably just curious about your work. You know how he looks up to you. Tyler didn't look up to me. Tyler resented me. He resented my success, my family, my stability, everything Dad had never given him, but had pushed me to achieve. I'd been too blind to see that resentment had curdled into something darker. The security system was my idea. We'd had a break-in scare in the neighborhood. Mrs. Patterson's house 2 streets over got hit while she was visiting her sister. Nothing major, just some jewelry and electronics. But it spooked Monica. I don't feel safe with you traveling so much, she said. I'd been to Chicago twice that month for client meetings. So I called Feldman Security, a local company run by an ex-cop named Dave Feldman. He was a straight shooter, the kind of guy who'd give you the honest truth even if it wasn't what you wanted to hear. You want the full package, Dave said as he surveyed our house. Cameras, motion sensors, the works. With a place this size and kids in the house, you can't be too careful. The installation took 2 days. Dave's crew put cameras in all the common areas: living room, kitchen, front and back doors, garage. The bedrooms were off limits, obviously, but everything else was covered. You can monitor everything from your phone, Dave explained, showing me the app. Live feed, recorded footage, motion alerts. It'll send notifications if anything unusual happens. I thought unusual would be a burglar, or maybe a raccoon getting into the garbage. I never imagined it would be my wife and brother recreating a porn scene on our kitchen island. The first night the system was active, I got a motion alert at 2:47 a.m. I was in bed next to Monica, who was supposedly asleep. I grabbed my phone to check the camera, thinking maybe Max had gotten up for a glass of water. Instead, I saw my wife's naked body pressed against the marble countertop where we ate breakfast every morning. Tyler was behind her, his hands gripping her hips, both of them lost in a passion I hadn't seen from Monica in years. I watched for 30 seconds before my stomach rebelled, and I had to run to the bathroom to vomit. When I came back, they were gone. The kitchen empty, except for the evidence of what they'd done. That's when Dave called. I monitor all new installations the first week, he explained later. Make sure everything's working properly. When I saw that, I knew I had to call you. I've got kids too, Mr. Grayson. No man should have to see what you saw. I thanked Dave and hung up. Then I sat in my car in the driveway for an hour, trying to process what my life had become. Monica was cheating on me with my own brother, in our house, in our kitchen, while our children slept upstairs. The rage came in waves. First, the hot, immediate fury that made me want to storm back inside and confront them both. Then the cold, calculating anger that whispered about revenge and payback and making them both pay for what they'd done to our family. But underneath it all was something worse than anger. Humiliation. I was the successful older brother, the responsible one, the man who'd built a life worth envying. And my baby brother had taken it all away with his pretty face and easy charm. I thought about Dad, about how he'd react when he found out. Tyler was still his golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. Somehow, this would be my fault too. I thought about the kids. Zoe was already struggling with typical teenage drama. Max was sensitive, the kind of kid who cried when we had to put down our old dog. How do you tell your children that their mother is a cheater and their uncle is a predator? I thought about Monica, about the woman I'd married 16 years ago. She'd been different then. Ambitious, funny, full of dreams about the life we'd build together. When had she become this stranger who could betray everything we'd built? But mostly, I thought about Tyler, my little brother, who'd looked up to me when we were kids, who'd called me his hero when I taught him to ride a bike. The same Tyler who was now systematically destroying my family for his own gratification. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to be the victim in this story. I wasn't going to slink away quietly while they laughed about the fool they'd made of me. I was going to make them pay, both of them. But first, I needed to get my kids somewhere safe. I rented a furnished loft downtown, telling the landlord it was a temporary situation while my house was being renovated. The kids thought it was an adventure at first, living in the city, walking to school, ordering takeout for dinner instead of Monica's elaborate home-cooked meals. Why can't Mom come stay with us? Max asked on our third night in the loft. She's handling some things at the house, I said, which was technically true. She was handling Tyler, just not the way Max imagined. Zoe was harder to fool. At 15, she had that teenage radar for adult bullcrap that made her dangerous to lie to. Are you and Mom getting divorced? She asked bluntly while Max was in the shower. We're working through some problems, I said. That's what Sarah's parents said before her dad moved out permanently. Zoe studied my face with those sharp eyes she'd inherited from Monica. Is this about Uncle Tyler? My blood went cold. What about Uncle Tyler? Come on, Dad, I'm not blind. The way Mom acts around him like she's a teenager with a crush. It's gross. If my 15-year-old daughter could see it, how many other people knew? How long had I been the oblivious husband, the last to know about my own wife's affair? Your mother and I are going to figure things out, I said. But right now, I need you and Max to stay with me. Zoe nodded, but I could see the questions in her eyes. She was smart enough to fill in the blanks, even if she didn't want to believe what she was seeing. Monica called constantly those first few days. I let most of the calls go to voicemail, listening to her increasingly frantic messages. Adam, where are you? The kids weren't at school, and your office said you took personal leave. I'm worried sick. Please call me back. Whatever you think is happening, we can talk about it. Tyler said you seemed upset the other night. If this is about him staying with us, he can leave. Just come home. Tyler said I seemed upset. The arrogance of it was breathtaking. He'd been screwing my wife in our kitchen, and he thought I seemed upset. I finally answered on day 4. Adam, thank God. Monica's voice was shaky with relief. Where are you? Are the kids okay? The kids are fine. They're with me. Where? I've been going crazy. I called the police, but they said since you're their father and there's no custody order, there will be soon enough. Silence. Then, what's that supposed to mean? It means I know, Monica. I know everything. Another silence. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, scared. Know what? Adam, you're scaring me. The security cameras, Monica. They see everything, including what happened in our kitchen at 2:47 a.m. last Tuesday. The sound she made was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. Adam, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you're ducking my brother in the house where our children sleep? She was crying now, ugly sobs that once would have broken my heart. Now they just annoyed me. It's not what you think. It just happened. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You threw away 16 years of marriage for something that didn't mean anything. Please, Adam, come home. We can work this out. I'll make Tyler leave. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't do anything crazy. Crazy? She was worried I'd do something crazy. The woman who'd been cheating on me with my own brother was concerned about my mental state. I'm not doing anything crazy, Monica. I'm doing exactly what any rational person would do. I'm protecting my children from the toxic situation you've created. You can't keep them from me forever. I'm their mother. You should have thought about that before you decided to be Tyler's witch. She hung up on me. I immediately called Diane Wells, the best divorce attorney in Columbus. Diane had a reputation as a shark in designer heels, the kind of lawyer who could take your spouse's soul and make them thank her for the privilege. Mr. Grayson, Diane said after I'd explained the situation, I need to be clear about something. Adultery is grounds for divorce in Ohio, but it doesn't automatically give you full custody. The courts care about what's best for the children, not punishing unfaithful spouses. What if I can prove she's been bringing her lover into the house where my children live? That's more compelling. Do you have evidence? Video evidence. Diane's smile was sharp as a blade. Then we have something to work with. I'll file the papers today. While Diane handled the legal side, I focused on intelligence gathering. Monica's social media had always been her weakness. She posted everything, tagged everyone, documented her life in exhaustive detail. Her Facebook page was a goldmine. Photos from her wine nights with Kendra and Sherry, always at different locations. Check-ins at restaurants and bars I'd never heard of. And in the background of several recent photos, a familiar face that had no business being there. Tyler, grinning at the camera, his arm around Monica's shoulders at Sherry's birthday party 3 weeks ago. Tyler again, sitting across from Monica at some trendy downtown restaurant I'd never been to. The timestamps showed these photos were taken during his supposed job interviews. I screenshot everything, building a timeline of their affair. It went back further than I'd thought, at least 2 months, maybe more. All those late nights Monica claimed to be with her girlfriends, she'd been with Tyler. The most damning evidence came from Kendra's Instagram. Kendra was Monica's closest friend in their little suburban coven, and she documented everything with the enthusiasm of a war correspondent. Her stories from the past month painted a clear picture of Monica's double life. There was Monica, dancing with Tyler at some club downtown while I was in Chicago on business. Monica and Tyler sharing dessert at a romantic restaurant while I thought she was at book club. Monica, Tyler, and the whole gang at a wine bar. Everyone laughing while Monica sat on Tyler's lap like she was 21 again. The comments on these posts were even worse. Monica's looking so happy lately. Girl, you are glowing. What's your secret? Living your best life. Some people are so lucky. They all knew. Monica's entire social circle knew she was cheating on me, and they were celebrating it like some kind of romantic comedy. I was the boring husband, the obstacle to Monica's happiness, the villain in their little fantasy. That's when I realized this wasn't just about Monica and Tyler anymore. This was about an entire group of people who decided my marriage was expendable for their entertainment. I started making a list. Monica, obviously. Tyler, definitely. But also Kendra, who'd been covering for Monica and documenting her affair like it was content for a lifestyle blog. Sherry, who'd been hosting their wine nights while they planned their betrayal. The whole toxic circle of suburban housewives who thought adultery was amusing as long as it wasn't happening to them. They'd all made me the joke. Now I was going to return the favor. But I needed help. Fortunately, I had an ally I hadn't expected. Mr. Grayson? Dave Feldman's voice was cautious when he answered my call. How are you holding up? I've been better, Dave. I need to ask you a favor. If I can help, I will. The security system you installed, can it be accessed remotely? Of course, that's the whole point of the app. No, I mean by someone else. Someone who might want to monitor what's happening in my house without my knowledge. Dave was quiet for a moment. Are you asking if your wife or her friend could be watching the cameras? That's exactly what I'm asking. Not unless they have your login credentials. The system is encrypted, password protected. But Mr. Grayson, if you're worried about your safety, I'm not worried about my safety, Dave. I'm planning something, and I need to know if they can see me coming. Another pause. Then, what kind of something? The legal kind. Mostly. Dave chuckled grimly. Mr. Grayson, I've been in law enforcement for 20 years before I started this business. I've seen what infidelity does to good people, how it turns them into someone they don't recognize. Whatever you're planning, just make sure you can live with it afterward. I can live with it, Dave. The question is whether they can. That night, I sat in my downtown loft with my laptop, surrounded by printed screenshots and legal documents, planning my campaign. The kids were asleep in their temporary bedrooms, and the city lights twinkled outside my windows like stars. Monica had started this war when she brought Tyler into our bed. But she'd made a crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. She thought I was the same passive, work-obsessed husband who'd let her get away with anything to keep the peace. She was about to learn how wrong she was. Tyler wanted to be me? He was about to find out what that really meant, because being me meant being smart, methodical, and absolutely ruthless when protecting what mattered. And what mattered now was making sure they both paid for what they'd done to my family. The war was about to begin. I started with Tyler's car. He'd always been obsessed with that piece of crap Camaro he'd bought with money Dad gave him for his college expenses. It was a 2018 model, bright red with black racing stripes, the kind of car a 21-year-old thinks makes him look cool but actually screams compensation issues. He'd been driving Monica's BMW lately, probably because gas was expensive and he was broke as usual, but the Camaro was still parked in our driveway like a monument to his presence in my house. I knew Tyler's schedule now. He'd leave around 10 in the morning, supposedly for job interviews, and return by 2 for his afternoon sessions with my wife. They thought they were being discreet, but their pattern was as predictable as clockwork. On Thursday morning, I waited until Tyler left in Monica's car, then drove to the house. Monica's car was gone too. She'd probably gone to the gym or to meet one of her friends to brag about her boy toy. The house was empty, just the way I needed it. I parked down the street and walked back, carrying a small bag of supplies I'd picked up at 3 different hardware stores. Sugar for the gas tank was a myth. It wouldn't actually damage the engine. But there were other ways to make a car inoperable without committing a felony. I started with the tires, not slashing them. That would be destruction of property. Instead, I used a small tool to remove the valve stems, letting all the air out slowly. The tires would look fine until Tyler tried to drive anywhere. Next, I applied a generous amount of superglue to the door locks. Not enough to be permanent, but enough to make them impossible to open without significant effort. and probably some professional help. For the finishing touch, I used washable paint to write cheater across the windshield and homewrecker on the driver's side door. The paint would come off eventually, but not before everyone in the neighborhood saw it. I was back in my car and gone before anyone noticed what I'd done. Tyler's call came 3 hours later. Adam, what the duck did you do to my car? I don't know what you're talking about, Tyler. I'm at work. Bullcrap. Someone ducked with my Camaro. The tires are flat, the locks are glued shut, and there's paint all over it. That's terrible. Have you called the police? Don't play dumb with me. I know it was you. You know what I know, Tyler? I know you've been ducking my wife in my house while my children sleep upstairs. So if someone vandalized your car, maybe you should think about why that might have happened. Silence. Then, Monica told you. Monica didn't tell me crap. I saw it myself. The security cameras see everything, little brother. More silence. When Tyler spoke again, his voice was different, harder, more calculating. What do you want, Adam? I want you out of my house by tonight. I want you to stay away from my wife and my children, and I want you to disappear from my life forever. And if I don't, then what happened to your car today will seem like a love letter compared to what happens next. Tyler laughed, but it sounded forced. You don't scare me, Adam. You're just a bitter middle-aged man who can't satisfy his wife. We'll see about that. I hung up and immediately called Dave Feldman. Dave, I need you to do me another favor. Can you send me the footage from last night's cameras? Which cameras? All of them, but especially the one in the driveway. Mr. Grayson, if this is about what I think it's about documenting any unusual activity around my property. Completely legal. Dave sighed. I'll email you the files. The footage was perfect. It clearly showed Tyler leaving in Monica's BMW at 9:47 a.m., then returning at 2:23 p.m. to find his car vandalized. More importantly, it showed his reaction, the screaming, the kicking of the remaining inflated tire, the attempt to break his own window with a rock when the glued locks wouldn't open. But the best part was what happened next. Monica came home at 2:45 p.m., took one look at the scene, and immediately started screaming at Tyler like it was his fault. The audio wasn't clear enough to make out words, but their body language told the whole story. She was furious that their secret was being exposed, and he was furious that his car had become collateral damage. They argued in the driveway for 10 minutes before Tyler stormed off on foot, leaving Monica to deal with the mess. She spent another 20 minutes trying to clean the paint off the car before giving up and going inside. I saved the footage to 3 different cloud storage accounts and sent copies to Diane Wells. This is good, Diane said when she called me back. It shows them together, shows their reaction to being exposed, and demonstrates that they're comfortable arguing in public about their relationship. A judge will find this very compelling. What about the vandalism? Could that hurt me in custody proceedings? What vandalism? I see footage of a car that was vandalized by an unknown perpetrator. There's no evidence connecting you to the damage. Diane was worth every penny of her retainer. That evening, Monica called me in tears. Adam, please, this has to stop. Tyler's car, the things you said to him, this isn't like you. You're right, Monica. The old me would have suffered in silence while you made a fool of me. But that Adam is gone. You killed him when you brought my brother into our bed. It was a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake. But we can fix this if you'll just come home. Is Tyler gone? A pause. He's staying at a friend's place tonight. That's not what I asked. Is he gone permanently, or is this just a tactical retreat until I calm down? Another pause, longer this time. Adam, he doesn't have anywhere else to go. That's not my problem anymore. You made your choice, Monica. You chose him over our family. Now you get to live with the consequences. I chose us! I chose our marriage! That's why I'm fighting for it! You chose our marriage when you decided to duck my brother? That's an interesting definition of commitment. She was crying again. Those manipulative tears that used to make me cave to whatever she wanted. Please don't do this. Please don't destroy our family over one mistake. I'm not destroying our family, Monica. You already did that. I'm just making sure everyone knows who's responsible. I hung up and blocked her number. The next morning, I got a call from Pete Morrison, our next-door neighbor. Pete was a retired accountant with too much time on his hands and an unfortunate tendency to involve himself in other people's business. Adam, I heard about you and Monica separating. I just wanted you to know if there's anything Nancy and I can do. That's kind of you, Pete, but We're managing. It's just, well, we've noticed some unusual activity at your house lately. That young man who's been staying with you. Tyler, is it? He's been coming and going at odd hours. And yesterday, with his car. Pete was fishing for gossip, but he was also giving me valuable intelligence. What kind of unusual activity, Pete? Well, I don't like to pry, but Nancy's been having trouble sleeping lately. She's noticed lights on in your house very late at night, and sometimes there's noise. Noise. Jesus Christ, the whole neighborhood had been listening to my wife and brother having sex. I appreciate you looking out for us, Pete. Monica and I are working through some issues, and Tyler won't be staying with us much longer. Of course, these things happen. Nancy and I just want you to know we're here if you need anything. After I hung up, I sat in my office staring out at the Columbus skyline, trying to process the full scope of my humiliation. It wasn't just Monica's friends who knew about the affair. It was the neighbors, probably the kids' teachers, maybe even my coworkers. I was the clueless husband, the last to know, the object of pity and gossip. That's when I decided vandalism wasn't enough. Tyler and Monica had made me a laughingstock. Now I was going to return the favor, but on a much larger scale. I opened my laptop and started researching social media algorithms, viral marketing techniques, and the fine art of public humiliation. If they wanted to make our private business public, I was happy to oblige. But they weren't going to like the story I had to tell. The gloves were coming off. The beauty of social media is that people document their own destruction. Monica and her friends had been so busy creating content around her affair that they'd built my case for me. I spent the weekend creating anonymous accounts on every platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, even LinkedIn. Then I started collecting and organizing the evidence Monica's circle had so helpfully provided. Kendra's Instagram stories became a timeline of infidelity. Sherry's Facebook check-ins revealed the locations where Monica and Tyler had been meeting. Even their group chat screenshots, which Sherry had posted as friendship goals content, contained enough innuendo to make their complicity obvious. But I needed something bigger than social media posts. I needed an event, something public and undeniable that would expose them to everyone who mattered. The answer came from Monica herself. She'd been organizing a charity gala for the Westerville Education Foundation for months, her big social event of the year, the kind of thing that would cement her status as a community leader. The theme was Family Values in Education, which was ironic enough to make me laugh out loud. The gala was scheduled for Saturday night at the Hilton downtown. 200 of Columbus's most prominent families would be there, including most of Monica's social circle, several of my coworkers, and even some of the kids' teachers. Perfect. I called the hotel's event coordinator, a harried-sounding woman named Janet. Hi, this is Adam Grayson. My wife Monica is organizing the Westerville Education Foundation Gala this weekend. Oh yes, Mr. Grayson. Monica's been wonderful to work with. How can I help you? I wanted to surprise her with a special video presentation during the dinner, something personal about our family and why education matters to us. That sounds lovely. I'll need to coordinate with our AV team, but we can definitely make that work. Perfect. I'll have the video ready by Friday afternoon. The video took me 3 days to create. I started with family photos. Monica and me on our wedding day, the kids as babies, family vacations, Christmas mornings. The kind of heartwarming montage that would make everyone smile and think about their own families. Then, seamlessly, I transitioned to the security footage. I'd edited it carefully, keeping it just explicit enough to be shocking but not pornographic. Monica and Tyler in the kitchen, their activities unmistakable but not graphic. The timestamp was clearly visible, 2:47 a.m., while the children slept upstairs. I added captions. Monica Grayson and Tyler Grayson, her brother-in-law, demonstrate their commitment to family values in the family kitchen. The final slide was simple text on a black background. Some families stick together, others stick it to each other. Adam Grayson. I delivered the video to Janet on Friday afternoon, along with a generous tip and specific instructions about when to play it. This is so sweet of you, Janet gushed. Monica's going to be so surprised. She had no idea. Saturday night, I dressed in my best suit and drove downtown. I'd bought a ticket to the gala weeks ago, back when I thought I'd be attending as Monica's supportive husband. Now I was going as her executioner. The Hilton ballroom was elegant, decorated in the foundation's colors with round tables for 10 and a small stage for speakers. Monica looked stunning in a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before, probably bought with money from our joint account to impress her lover. She spotted me as soon as I walked in, her face going pale with shock. Adam, what are you doing here? Supporting education just like always. You look beautiful, Monica. Is that a new dress? You can't be here. After everything that's happened. After everything you've done, you mean. But don't worry, I'm not here to cause a scene. I'm here to support the cause we both believe in. Tyler was there too, lurking near the bar in an ill-fitting rental tux. He looked like a kid playing dress-up, which wasn't far from the truth. When he saw me, he started moving in our direction, but I held up a hand. Stay where you are, Tyler. We're in public, and I'd hate for you to embarrass Monica more than you already have. Monica grabbed my arm. Please, Adam, don't do this. Whatever you're planning, I'm not planning anything, Monica. I'm just here to enjoy the evening and support a good cause. She didn't believe me, but there wasn't much she could do without making a scene herself. I found my assigned table 7 with some of Monica's friends and their husbands. Kendra was there with her husband Mark, a boring insurance salesman who had no idea his wife had been enabling adultery. Sherry sat across from me with her latest boyfriend, a 20-something personal trainer who was probably closer to Tyler's age than hers. Adam! Kendra's voice was overly bright, the way people sound when they're trying too hard to act normal. What a surprise to see you here! Wouldn't miss it, I said, sitting down and unfolding my napkin. Monica's worked so hard on this event. I wanted to be here to support her. The conversation around the table was stilted, everyone walking on eggshells. They all knew about the affair, and they all knew I knew, but nobody wanted to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Dinner was served. Rubber chicken and overcooked vegetables, the standard catering fare. I made small talk, complimented the decorations, asked about people's kids. I was the picture of civility, which seemed to make everyone more nervous. Monica kept glancing over from the head table where she sat with the foundation board members. Tyler had found a seat near the back, probably hoping to stay invisible. After dinner, Monica took the stage to give her presentation about the foundation's work. She was a good public speaker, confident and articulate, talking about the importance of supporting teachers and providing resources for students. Education is about more than just academics, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the ballroom's sound system. It's about teaching our children values, honesty, integrity, respect for others and themselves. It's about showing them what it means to be a good person, a good family member, a good citizen. The irony was so thick I could taste it. That's why tonight's theme, family values and education, is so important to all of us. We're not just funding programs. We're investing in the moral foundation of our community's future. The audience applauded politely. Monica smiled, basking in the attention, completely unaware of what was coming next. Before we move to our silent auction, Monica continued, I have a special surprise. My husband Adam has prepared a video presentation about why family values matter to our household. Adam, this is such a wonderful surprise. She looked directly at me, her smile genuine for the first time all evening. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The lights dimmed, and my video began playing on the large screens flanking the stage. It started beautifully. Our wedding photos drew appreciative murmurs from the audience. Baby pictures of Zoe and Max got the expected awes. Family vacation shots made people smile and think about their own happy memories. Monica relaxed, probably thinking I'd decided to forgive and forget for the sake of public appearances. Then the security footage began. The first image was innocent enough, just the kitchen camera's view of our island and breakfast nook. But then the timestamp appeared. 2:47 a.m., and Monica's naked form came into frame. The audience's reaction was immediate and visceral. Gasps, shocked exclamations, the sound of chairs scraping as people turned to look at Monica on stage. Monica herself stood frozen, her face a mask of horror as she watched her affair play out in high definition for 200 of Columbus's most prominent citizens. Tyler appeared in the frame, and someone in the audience, I think it was Mark, Kendra's husband, said loudly, Jesus Christ, is that her brother-in-law? The video continued for another 30 seconds, long enough for everyone to understand exactly what they were seeing, before cutting to the final slide with my message. The ballroom erupted. People were standing, talking loudly, pointing at Monica on stage and Tyler in the back of the room. Several women were covering their mouths in shock. A few men were laughing, not with humor, but with the cruel satisfaction people feel when they witness someone else's downfall. Monica finally found her voice. "Turn it off!" she screamed at the AV technician. "Turn it off right now!" But the damage was done. 200 people had just watched Monica Grayson, pillar of the community and advocate for family values, having sex with her husband's brother in the family kitchen. I stood up slowly, straightened my tie, and walked toward the exit. As I passed Monica's table, I stopped and looked up at her on the stage. "Thank you for a lovely evening, Monica. I think everyone learned a lot about family values tonight." The last thing I saw before leaving was Tyler pushing through the crowd toward the exit, his face red with embarrassment and rage. Several people tried to stop him, probably wanting to ask questions or just get a closer look at the man who'd destroyed the Grayson family. But I was already gone, walking through the hotel lobby with my head held high, feeling lighter than I had in months. Phase 1 was complete. Monica's reputation was destroyed, her social circle was in chaos, and Tyler's role in the whole mess was now public knowledge. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The real fun was just beginning. The video went viral before I even made it home from the hotel. Someone, probably multiple someones, had recorded my presentation with their phones and uploaded it to every social media platform imaginable. By Sunday morning, Family Values Gala was trending on Twitter, and the local news stations were calling it the most shocking public scandal in Columbus social history. My phone rang constantly. Reporters, friends, co-workers, even strangers who'd somehow gotten my number. I ignored them all and focused on monitoring the fallout. Monica's Facebook page was a wasteland. Hundreds of comments, most of them brutal. Guess we know why she was so passionate about family values. That poor husband, how humiliating. And with his own brother. Some people have no shame. Those poor children, how will they ever live this down? Kendra and Sherry had made their profiles private, but not before screenshots of their posts supporting Monica's affair had been captured and shared widely. The narrative was clear. Monica hadn't just cheated, she'd done it with the full knowledge and support of her friend group, who'd treated it like entertainment. Tyler's minimal social media presence worked against him now. With no way to control his own narrative, he became a caricature, the young homewrecker who'd seduced his older brother's wife. The age gap that had made him seem charming now made him look predatory, but the real prize was the local news coverage. Channel 6 ran a segment Sunday night about social media and public shaming in the digital age, using our story as their primary example. They'd interviewed several attendees from the gala, and while they pixelated the explicit parts of my video, they showed enough to make the story clear. What started as a charity event became a very public revelation of marital infidelity, the anchor reported with barely concealed amusement. The incident raises questions about privacy, revenge, and the power of social media to destroy lives in minutes. They interviewed Dr. Patricia Williams, a psychology professor at Ohio State, who offered her professional opinion. This appears to be a carefully planned act of revenge by a betrayed spouse. While we can understand his anger, the public nature of his retaliation suggests someone who felt powerless in his personal life and chose to reclaim control through humiliation. She wasn't wrong, but I didn't care about her analysis. What mattered was that the story was spreading, and with it, the complete destruction of Monica's carefully crafted public image. Monday morning brought a new development. Tyler showed up at my office. I was reviewing quarterly logistics reports when Rita, my assistant, buzzed me. "Mr. Grayson, there's a young man here to see you, says he's your brother. He seems agitated." "Send him in, Rita, and maybe call security, just in case." Tyler stormed into my office, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair was a mess, and there was a wild look in his eyes that made me glad I'd asked Rita to alert security. "You son of a bitch!" he snarled, slamming the door behind him. "You destroyed her! You destroyed both of us!" "I didn't destroy anything, Tyler. I just showed people who you really are." "That was private, between consenting adults. You had no right." "I had no right." I stood up, my own anger finally breaking through the calm facade I'd maintained for weeks. "You ducked my wife in my house while my children slept upstairs, and you're talking to me about rights?" "Monica loves me. She was miserable with you, and I made her happy." "Monica loves the idea of you, the excitement, the rebellion, the chance to feel young again. But love? Tyler, you don't even know what love is." He moved closer to my desk, his hands clenched into fists. "You think you're so much better than me. The successful older brother, the responsible one. But you're just a bitter, middle-aged loser who couldn't keep his wife satisfied." "Maybe, but I'm a bitter middle-aged loser who just ended your relationship and destroyed your reputation in front of the entire city. So, who's the real loser here? Tyler's face was red with rage. This isn't over, Adam. You think you've won, but this isn't over. Yes, it is. I sat back down and returned to my reports, dismissing him like the child he was. It's been over since the moment you decided to betray me. Everything since then has just been cleanup. He stood there for another moment, probably trying to think of a comeback that would wound me the way I'd wounded him. But Tyler had always been better at charm than wit, and charm wouldn't help him now. Finally, he turned and left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Rita appeared a few minutes later with coffee and a concerned expression. Everything okay, Mr. Grayson? That young man seemed very upset. He's having a difficult time accepting the consequences of his choices, but it's nothing I can't handle. The rest of the week brought a steady stream of developments, each more satisfying than the last. Monica's position on the Westerville Education Foundation board was suspended pending review. The charity couldn't afford to be associated with someone who'd become a public scandal, especially not someone who'd been exposed as a hypocrite on the subject of family values. Kendra and Sherry found themselves persona non grata in their social circle. Other wives, horrified by their complicity in Monica's affair, began excluding them from events and gatherings. The suburban social hierarchy that had seemed so important to them was crumbling, and they were on the wrong side of the collapse. Tyler, meanwhile, had become unemployable in Columbus. His face was too recognizable, his story too notorious. Who would hire the man who'd destroyed a family for his own gratification? But the most satisfying development came Thursday afternoon, when Diane Wells called with an update on the divorce proceedings. Monica's attorney wants to settle, Diane said, her voice pleased. They're offering you full custody of the children, the house, and 60% of the marital assets. What's the catch? No catch. Monica's legal position is untenable. The video evidence, the public scandal, the impact on the children, no judge would look favorably on her case. Her lawyer knows it, and so does she. And Tyler. Monica's attorney made it clear that Tyler Grayson will have no contact with the children and no claim to any marital assets. He's completely cut out of the equation. I leaned back in my office chair, watching the Columbus skyline through my window. 3 weeks ago, I'd been the oblivious husband, the last to know about my own wife's betrayal. Now I was the victor in a war I'd never wanted to fight, but had won decisively. There's one more thing, Diane continued. Monica wants to speak with you directly. Her lawyer thinks a face-to-face conversation might help finalize the settlement. Set it up, but somewhere public, and I want you there. Of course. How about my office tomorrow afternoon? Perfect. That night, I called the kids into the living room of our downtown loft. They'd been patient with the temporary living situation, but they deserved to know what was happening to their family. Your mom and I are getting divorced, I said without preamble. You'll be living with me permanently, but you can visit her whenever you want. Zoe nodded like she'd been expecting this news. Max looked confused and hurt, the way 11-year-olds do when their world shifts without warning. Is it because of Uncle Tyler? Zoe asked. It's because your mother made some choices that hurt our family. Tyler was part of that, but the responsibility is hers. Will we have to move again? Max's voice was small, worried. We'll move back to the house soon. Uncle Tyler won't be living there anymore. Good, Zoe said fiercely. I never liked him anyway. He was always trying too hard to be cool, you know? I hugged them both. These resilient kids who'd been caught in the crossfire of adult selfishness and stupidity, they'd be okay. Kids were tougher than people gave them credit for, and they had me to protect them now. Tomorrow, I'd face Monica one last time. Then this chapter of my life would be closed, and I could focus on building something better for my children. But first, I had one final surprise for my soon-to-be ex-wife and her boy toy. The best was yet to come. Monica looked like she'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. She sat across from me in Diane Wells's conference room, her designer clothes unable to hide the exhaustion and stress that had hollowed out her cheeks and put dark circles under her eyes. Her lawyer, a nervous man named Peterson, kept glancing at his phone like he had somewhere better to be. Adam! Monica's voice was hoarse, probably from crying or screaming or both. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Diane said you wanted to discuss the settlement terms. I want to discuss our family, our children, what you've done to us. Diane placed a hand on my arm, a subtle reminder to stay calm. Mrs. Grayson, we're here to finalize the divorce agreement. Personal recriminations aren't productive. Personal recriminations? Monica's voice rose. He humiliated me in front of the entire city. He destroyed my reputation, my friendships, my life. You destroyed your life when you decided to have an affair with your husband's brother, I said calmly. I just made sure everyone knew about it. It was a mistake, a stupid, terrible mistake, but it didn't have to end like this. How did you think it would end, Monica? Did you think I'd just accept it? Maybe invite Tyler to family dinners and pretend nothing happened? She was crying now, but these weren't the manipulative tears she'd used on me for years. These were the tears of someone who'd lost everything and finally understood the magnitude of her choices. I hoped we could work it out privately. Go to counseling, rebuild our trust. I never wanted it to become public. You made it public when you started ducking him in our house. You made it public when you brought him to parties and restaurants and let your friends document your affair like it was a reality show. I just gave the story the ending it deserved. Peterson cleared his throat. Mr. Grayson, my client is prepared to accept the terms we discussed. Full custody to you, the marital home, 60% of assets. She's also willing to waive spousal support. In exchange for what? She wants you to stop, Monica said, her voice breaking. No more videos, no more public humiliation. She wants to be able to rebuild her life somewhere else. Somewhere else? I'm moving to Portland. My sister lives there, and she thinks she can help me find work. Start over. Portland, 3,000 miles away from Columbus, from the kids, from the mess she'd made. It was probably the smartest thing Monica had done in months. What about Tyler? Monica's face crumpled. Tyler's gone. He left town Sunday night after the video. I don't know where he went. He didn't say goodbye. He said this was all my fault, said I should have been more careful, should have made sure you didn't find out. Then he took what money I had left and disappeared. Of course he did. Tyler had always been a coward, quick to abandon ship when things got difficult. The great love affair that Monica had risked everything for had lasted exactly as long as it took for the consequences to catch up with them. So he left you to deal with the fallout alone. He's young. He was scared. He's 21, Monica. Old enough to vote, old enough to serve in the military, old enough to take responsibility for destroying a family. But sure, let's call it scared. Diane spread the settlement documents across the table. If we're all in agreement, we can finalize this today. I read through the terms carefully. Full custody of Zoe and Max with visitation rights for Monica that were generous but supervised. The house and all its contents, my retirement accounts, the kids' college funds, 60% of our joint savings. Monica would take her car, her personal belongings, and enough money to start over in Portland. It was more than fair. It was merciful. There's one more thing, I said as I reached for a pen. I want a written statement that Tyler Grayson will have no contact with my children. Ever. Adam, he's their uncle. He was their uncle. Now he's the man who helped destroy their family. I don't want him at graduations, weddings, or funerals. I don't want him sending birthday cards or Christmas presents. As far as my children are concerned, Tyler Grayson no longer exists. Monica nodded slowly. I'll make sure he understands. You'll make sure he understands, or you'll forfeit your visitation rights. Those are the terms. Peterson added the clause to the agreement, and we all signed. Just like that, 16 years of marriage were officially over. As we gathered our documents, Monica looked at me one last time. Adam, I know you hate me. I know you think I'm a terrible person, but I did love you once. What we had was real, even if I forgot that for a while. I know you loved me, Monica. That's what makes this so much worse. You didn't throw away our marriage for love. You threw it away for excitement, for attention, for the thrill of doing something forbidden. And when it all fell apart, your great love couldn't even stick around to help you pick up the pieces. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I deserve that. You deserve a lot more than that. But I'm not going to waste any more of my life making you pay for what you did. I've got 2 kids to raise and a life to rebuild. Monica left first, walking out of the conference room and out of my life with her head down and her shoulders shaking. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Well, Diane said as she packed up her files, that was easier than I expected. She's completely broken. Good. Maybe she'll think twice before destroying someone else's family. What about Tyler? Any idea where he went? I have some theories. That evening, I drove to my father's house in Upper Arlington. Dad was 72 now. Retired from his accounting practice, but still sharp as a tack. He'd always favored Tyler, but even he had limits. Adam, Dad's greeting was subdued as he let me into the house where I'd grown up. I heard about the divorce, I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry that your golden boy got caught? Dad sighed and led me to his study, the same room where he'd lectured me about responsibility and hard work throughout my childhood. Tyler called me Sunday night. He was distraught. I bet he was. Did he ask you for money? He said he needed help getting out of town, said you'd ruined his life and he couldn't stay in Columbus. I didn't ruin his life, Dad. I just made sure everyone knew what kind of person he really is. He's still my son, Adam, and he's still your brother. No, he's not. He stopped being my brother when he decided to duck my wife. Now he's just a stranger who shares some of my DNA. Dad looked older than his years, worn down by the knowledge that his favorite child had become a man he couldn't defend. He said he's going to California, Los Angeles maybe. Thinks he can start over there. Did you give him money? Dad nodded reluctantly. $5,000, enough to get settled somewhere new. That's $5,000 more than he deserved. He made a mistake, Adam. A terrible mistake, but stop. I held up a hand. Don't make excuses for him. Don't try to minimize what he did. Tyler didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. He chose to betray me, to hurt my children, to destroy my family for his own gratification. And when the consequences caught up with him, he ran away like the coward he's always been. Dad was quiet for a long moment. Then, what happens now? Now I raise my kids, rebuild my life, and try to forget I ever had a brother named Tyler. And Monica? Monica's moving to Portland. She'll be out of our lives soon enough. The kids will need their mother, Adam, despite everything that's happened. The kids will be fine. They're resilient and they have me. That's more than a lot of children get. I left Dad's house feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The last loose end was tied up. Tyler was gone, Monica was leaving, and I had everything I needed to build a new life for my children. 2 days later, I got a call from Dave Feldman. Mr. Grayson, I wanted to let you know I removed all the security equipment from your house this morning. The system's been completely uninstalled. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate everything you've done. Can I ask you something? Do you regret it? What you did to them? I thought about it for a moment. No, I don't regret protecting my children from people who would hurt them. I don't regret showing the world who Tyler and Monica really are. And I don't regret making sure they face consequences for their choices. Fair enough. Good luck, Mr. Grayson. I hope you and your kids find some peace. That weekend, I moved back into the house with Zoe and Max. Monica had taken her personal belongings and left everything else exactly as it was. The kitchen island had been professionally cleaned, but I still couldn't look at it without seeing the security footage that had started this whole war. Dad? Zoe found me standing in the kitchen Saturday morning staring at the marble countertop. Are you okay? I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking. About Mom? About the future? About making sure you and Max have the life you deserve. We do have that. We have you. I hugged my daughter, this wise 15-year-old who'd seen her family fall apart, but still had faith that we could build something better from the wreckage. Yeah, I said. You have me, and I have you. That's enough. 6 months later, I got a postcard from Los Angeles. No return address, but I recognized Tyler's handwriting. You won. Hope you're happy. T. I threw it in the trash without showing it to the kids. Monica sent birthday cards to Zoe and Max from Portland, but she never called or visited. Maybe she was respecting the boundaries we'd established, or maybe she'd simply moved on to a new life that didn't include the children she'd abandoned. Either way, we were better off without her. The scandal faded from public memory, replaced by newer gossip and fresher drama. Kendra and Sherry moved away, their marriages casualties of their complicity in Monica's affair. The Westerville social scene rebuilt itself around new players and different hierarchies. I focused on work, on the kids, on creating stability in our lives. Zoe thrived in high school, her confidence returning as she realized the divorce hadn't destroyed our family. It had saved it. Max struggled more, but therapy helped, and he slowly began to trust that I wasn't going anywhere. People asked if I was dating, if I planned to remarry, if I was ready to move on. I wasn't. Maybe someday I'd be ready to trust someone with my heart again, but not yet. The kids needed me, and I needed them, and that was enough for now. Sometimes, late at night when the house was quiet, I'd think about Monica and Tyler. Were they happy with their choices? Did they ever think about the family they'd destroyed? Did they understand the full cost of what they'd done? I hope they did. I hope they woke up every morning knowing that their moment of selfish pleasure had cost them everything that mattered. I hope they remembered every single day that actions have consequences and some betrayals can never be forgiven. But mostly, I didn't think about them at all. I had a life to live, children to raise, and a future to build. The past was dead and buried, along with the man I used to be. The trusting husband, the loyal brother, the fool who thought family meant something. I was someone different now, someone harder maybe, but also someone who wouldn't be taken advantage of again. Someone who protected what mattered and destroyed what threatened it. Someone who'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's winning.